Okay. Grace, will you do the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Grace. I'd like to call to order the the meeting of the St. Helena Planning Commission for September 1st, 2015, and ask Commissioner Kistner to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Koberstein? Commissioner Sweeney?
Here.
Commissioner Monette?
Here.
Commissioner Kistner?
Here.
Chairperson Parker?
Present. Moving on to public forum, this is an opportunity for the public to address the Commission on items of interest to the public that are not listed on tonight's agenda. Because of restrictions imposed by the Brown Act, the Commission may not engage in discussion nor take action on matters not described on the agenda. Who would like to speak at public forum? If you could come up to the podium and state your name. Thank you.
I do. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Hackett. I come from Angwin, and I'm here representing the interests of the citizens of Angwin. I am the chairman of Save Rural Angwin. I come here tonight to raise your awareness about an issue, not to raise a big fluster here, but it seems ironic that your water supply, the city of Napa's water supply, and others are all in the county, regulated by county code and county restrictions. It seems there's a real awareness in the county, at least, that maybe some further restrictions need to be put on our watershed and our forests. What's specific here, and what I want to draw your awareness to, is something that is also impinging on the city of Napa's water supply, and that is because your water comes from Angwin. You're supposed to never ask a politician a question you're afraid they might not be able to answer, so I didn't want to ask you that question, but it doesn't come out of Bell Canyon Reservoir. It comes out of Angwin, all of your water. So therefore, the supply up there in the forest should be, and I'm sure is, very important to each and every one of you. You wouldn't be on this commission. You're not here for the money. You're not here for the status. You're here because you care about your community. Each and every one of you clearly cares greatly about your community, and therefore you should really be aware of what's going on a proposed development in your watershed. This is relatively new news, and you will get the jurisdictional authority will be alerting you very shortly, but we've just gotten a draft environmental impact report from a potential clear cutting in your watershed. That for the last couple of years, Mr. Mike Davis has been building a beautiful, I got to say, it's a beautiful winery along the trail. And he needs to have some high-end grapes, so he's purchased property in Angwin. The problem with what his potential development will be is that it will directly affect not only your quantity, but your quality of water in St. Helena, and I think you need to weigh in on this. And there's no way you're going to find out about it unless people like me step up and tell you about it. The project entails, he's bought about, I'm not going to get exact on any numbers. It's about 38 acres. He's going to clear a forest on about 14 acres. The draft environmental impact report, of course, talks about all the species and the spotted owl and how it can, you've all seen environmental impact reports. But the most significant factor is that the soil up there is tufa. It's got a, as soon as it's saturated, water just runs off. So it's sequestering the water through in your forest is obviously incredibly important to keeping it in the ground and letting it run down the hill through groundwater and surface water into your reservoir. Potentially, the sediment is going to come down on you, and you will have less water. He has dug 2 wells. This property is adjacent to, on 2 sides, the Dunwild Lake Preserve, which is like 3,800 acres, I believe. Kind of a shame that this is right next door to that, but that's the way it is, and there's no setback with that from that other property as well. He was shown several other opportunities in Angwin other than this property, which, by the way, has lousy soil, is susceptible to frost, and he's going to have bears knocking down his deer fence, and then he'll be wanting to take out a permit to shoot bears. You just wait if this goes through. So without being alarming about this, I just wanted to bring this to your attention, tell you should be interested. I'm sure you all are, and you will have an opportunity to weigh in on this. It's about 1 week into a 30-day period where you can comment from your sphere of influence. So have at it, and let's protect your water. I care about your water. You care about your water, and most assuredly your citizens do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hackett.
Can I ask a clarifying question about just his identity?
He's from rural Angwin.
Yeah.
Rural Angwin is
Yes.
the name of it? Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I should step away, but if any of you want to see the property or you want to just call and ask questions, I'd like to just somebody note my phone number in Angwin is 965-9640. Be glad to give anybody or all of you a tour of the suspect area.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Hi, Jeff Ellsworth, 1434 Sylvaner. Mike had brought this up, and I know Mike through our Napa Vision 2050 coalition of citizens groups. So talking about St. Helena, what impacts St. Helena, all our towns and our entire county are connected by our water and our roads. And so I think it's important for these discussions that we might say, it's out of our jurisdiction, but it's certainly something that will impact us, and it is within our sphere of influence to have these discussions on a broader county level and connect with the county because this is a very small region, and everything, it doesn't stop when you get to the city limit, you know? That's an imaginary made-up line. Anyway, so I just wanted Mike to come down and alert you to this new thing coming up that's coming our way. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellsworth. Would anyone else like to speak at public forum? Moving on to our consent items. We have 2 consent items, I believe. One is the approval of the minutes. The other is a design review exemption. Let's start with number 4. Do we have any comments on the minutes?
Staff is going to pull the minutes from the consent calendar, and just to identify that there were some changes made with regards to identifying Commissioner Sweeney's abstention from the 1134 Valley View item that was heard at the commission last meeting. The minutes were modified and placed on your dais, so you have them for your review. And Commissioner Monet, thank you very much for identifying those questions.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Monette,
Yes.
Commissioner Kistner,
Yes.
Commissioner Koberstein, Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Chairperson Parker.
Yes. Next is item number 5, the design review exemption of 1107 Valley View Street. Would anyone like to pull this from the commission or the audience? Seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the consent item number 5.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Kistner,
Yes.
Commissioner Koberstein, Commissioner Monette,
Yes.
Chairperson Parker.
Yes.
Sarah, I'd like to make a comment on that, Bill. I would much rather see a better bunch of drawings in there.
Grace,
than what-
microphone.
Not just on this one. I'm saying this for future. I think we need to have clear things for not only consent items, but everything. We need some drawings, and we need to really know what's going on. And those aren't very clear.
All right. Moving on to our public hearings portion of tonight's agenda, item number 6, PL 15-034. It's a use permit amendment for 1150 Main Street. May I have the staff report?
Thank you, Chairperson Parker. The applicant is the co-owner of the Himalaya Sherpa Kitchen restaurant located at 1148 Main Street, next door to the vacant tenant space at 1150 Main Street. The applicant is requesting a use permit amendment in order to modify the items permitted for sale at 1150 Main Street to allow for a Himalayan clothing and accessory store that would include items predominantly made in Nepal and Tibet. The use permit would be modified to allow the sale of men's and women's clothing, shoes, accessories, including bags, hats, gloves, scarves, and costume jewelry, as well as a variety of home furnishings, including statues, tableware, and other decorative items. The applicant has stated that they would offer unique products and goods not available at other stores in St. Helena, thereby helping to diversify shopping choices for visitors and residents alike. Proposed hours of operation would be 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. There would be one full-time employee and approximately 2 part-time employees. There will be no expansion of or modifications to the interior or exterior of the existing tenant space. The applicant operates a successful restaurant immediately adjacent to this vacant tenant space and knows how to run a successful business in St. Helena, and wishes to open a store specializing in the sale of unique products not sold at other retail locations within the city. Staff is supportive of this application and recommends that the Planning Commission approve the use permit amendment. One note, no parking plan was required as the tenant space has the required one off-street parking space as required in the Parking Impact Overlay District, and there's no change in occupancy as it going from one retail use to another. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Does anyone have any questions for staff at this time? Yes.
I have a question. I noticed that the permit that this is replacing, it was a little bit more specific. It was authentic Native American beadwork. And I'm wondering why, in this case, if we like the fact that the use is offering things that aren't available elsewhere in town, why there's not a reference to the Himalayan merchandise?
Going back in time and dealing with these use permits for these stores in that specific block on Main Street, it was discussed with the city attorney, and trying to limit a use permit based on heritage and things like that wasn't advised.
So nothing would keep it from just becoming a regular clothing store?
That's why it's not put in the use permit, correct.
Any other questions? All right, I'd love to hear from the applicant. I see that he's in the audience. I'd like to open up the public comment.
My name is Steve Robertson. I'm one of the owners of St. Helena Plaza. Kamchuring Sherpa is our tenant, and I wanted to make just a few brief comments. I know everyone probably wants to go home. He's been a tremendous tenant. He came in and he put a very unique product before the residents of the city as well as the visitors. We had seen his services in another location, and we were immediately struck by that, and we thought he would be tremendously successful. I can tell you that his sales have more than doubled in the 2 years he's been here. He's been received by the community. I've had nothing but good comments, and we consider him a fabulous tenant. He approached us with this concept, which we endorse totally. It's unique, it's colorful, and we would request your support on this. If you have any direct questions of Cam, he's here.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant at this time? No? I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment and invite commissioner discussion.
Well, I really like the idea. I really support this project. And I was looking through the items that are going to be there, and I saw the bowls. If I had any question when I saw those bowls, I have one of those bowls, and they're the most amazing music machine in the world. They have this long decay, and they're made with I don't know how many metals. Anyway, there's a picture of them, and I have one, and I just love it. And I had to go to Sonoma. I looked all over years ago when I was buying it. To think that we have some of those in town is like, oh, this is a wonderful place. So I, for that reason, and and what I've just heard from the gentleman who just spoke, I fully support this project.
Thank you.
There's no extra demand on any infrastructure, and it doesn't seem to be disruptive in any way, and no one is opposing it. So.
And I actually just want to chime in that happy to see it not so defined to specific merchandise. I think that's where we've gotten into trouble before. And I also think it allows the applicant, who's proven to be a good business person, but a little flexibility to mediate inventory as needed based on seasonality or demands from the public. So I think it's good. And it also fixes a challenge that we were left with a jewelry store location that I know was a challenge and a concern from a lot of citizens, that we left too many permits in place. So I think this use is a good use for the city today and moving forward.
Thank you.
I also like the project, but I like it for different reasons than Bobby likes it. I happen to like that pair of pants on. I would approve this project if after what you just said, if we could delete number 11 in the resolution, indicating there was a parking plan submitted. And thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, that's a finding, so that needs to stay in there. It's not a condition of approval, so I think we need to leave it in there.
Even though there wasn't a plan submitted?
There's one parking space behind the building, so.
All right, so there's a plan submitted.
There's not real point to having the plan.
Okay.
That's a finding in all use permits. So any action approving use permit approves that finding, and that's why Aaron added the note about the fact that it's in the parking impact district and there's no additional parking requirements based on the zoning.
And you said it was a finding, not a what? What was the other thing?
Condition.
A condition. Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Commissioner Koberstein?
I think the only thing I would add is I think it's a good place in the downtown to put an additional retail use of this type. Gives you a little more variety in that particular spot. I support it as well.
Perfect, thank you. And I as well, and I would like to echo Commissioner Sweeney's comment. I do think it's a nice cleaning up of a very tightly written use permit and opening it up for future uses. So if we could have a motion.
Let's see.
I move that the Planning Commission of the City of St. Helena approve the use permit on the following basis. We find that the project is exempt from the requirements of CEQA pursuant to Section 15301, Class 1, which exempts the operation, leasing, or minor alteration of existing facilities. And the Planning Commission makes the final use permit findings supporting Section 17168.050 to support this motion.
Second.
Commissioner Kistner?
Yes.
Commissioner Monette?
Yes.
Commissioner Koberstein?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Yes.
Chairperson Parker?
Yes. Our next agenda item has been continued to our September, thank you very much, to our September 15th Planning Commission meeting. That is the demolition permit, use permit, and variance and design review for 1340 Tainter Street and 1255 Oak Avenue. The next agenda item has also been continued to the September 15th Planning Commission meeting. That is a demolition permit, design review, variance for 679 Dowdell Lane. Next up is our department report from Mr. Noah Hausch.
Yeah, we just want to remind the commission and the public that the town hall meeting on short-term rental units will be held here at Vintage Hall on September 23rd from 5 to 7. Request the public come out and participate, but if they're unavailable to, they can send an email directly to me, and my email address is located on the website.
Do you want to say which day of the week that is?
It's a Wednesday.
And just for clarity, I am permitted to attend, but not participate, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
And then to add to that, the department report, there's been some discussions about a joint city council planning commission meeting, kind of in the works at the staff level since I was hired. And we are tentatively looking at October 20th or October 27th for that to occur. Right now, we're kind of thinking of it as kind of a land use 101. But if you have specific questions or items of interest that you would like us to add to that presentation, we're happy to do so. And in our last agenda meeting with Chair Parker and Commissioner Kitchener, we discussed having a kind of adding a little bit of depth to the discussion on variances. So that way, just to help the commission understand the findings that are required for a variance.
Could I ask that we also consider having the council explain their priorities to us, or at least state them for us? I think that we need to know what their priorities are, so that we can kind of follow them a little bit.
Agreed.
That's an excellent point.
Thank you.
So if any of you have any items that you'd like to maybe get a little bit more in-depth information on, if you could just email Noah or Aaron.
Email you?
No, email Noah or Aaron. And with that, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much.
Oh my God.
That was quick. Very quick.